Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Kylie Enkelman and I am an energy healer and a fertility coach, and today we're talking about the reasons why you want to have a baby but you're not currently working towards having your family. So the first video in this series is I want to have a baby but my partner doesn't want to. So if you find yourself in this situation, you're not alone. It's actually fairly common for partners to be on different pages when it comes to having children. The question is what to do with it. There are a couple of ways to look at it, of course, as with everything in life. I'm going to take you through a few ways to consider this exact dilemma. The first thing to consider is this a new relationship or is it a long established relationship? So let's consider the first one. You've just met this person, you might have been dating for a little while and you've had a conversation about children, and surprise, surprise, you're not both on the same page as wanting to have children. Now this can also apply if your partner says that they do want to have children but they're very vague about the when they want to start trying to have a family. Men don't have as much time pressure when it comes to their fertility as women. Men can have children through their 60s and 70s. Most people don't want to have kids that old. They can still be very old and having children. Whereas women, we have a very finite fertility clock, clearly. We have a very finite fertility. So we are so much more keenly aware of timing when it comes to our fertility window and when we want to have kids relative to men. Now, if someone says to you that they want to have family but it's not going to be for another 5 or 10 years and you're pretty keen to get started in the next 3 to 5 years, then that needs to be discussed because that is definitely not on the same page. And if that is the case, then you need to really look at what your priorities are and what's it going to be, the consequences for you especially if you did delay having children 5 to 10 years instead of 2 to 5. Now, if this is an established relationship and you guys have been together for a long time, you know each other well, and all of a sudden there's this disparity between how you feel about having children, then this really needs to be considered. You really need to look at this and have open and honest conversations about the reality of one party compromising what is important to them. There's a few things that I think are important when having this conversation, and the first thing is to understand who has actually changed their mind. Let's consider, for example, that you have said previously that you didn't think you want to have kids and now all of a sudden you've changed your mind and you actually do want to have children. Now the first thing is to take responsibility for that, because you have said previously that you didn't want to have kids, and if your partner was happy with that, then you have to take responsibility for the fact that you've changed your mind. Secondly, it's completely normal for you to have changed your mind. When we are in different stages of our lives, the things that are important to us and the way that we spend our time and who we're spending it with are vastly different. We change and mature as we grow, and that's completely normal. And it isn't unrealistic for someone to not know how they genuinely feel about having kids when they're a kid. When they're a teenager or someone in their early 20s and you're just starting to taste freedom and personal empowerment and exploring your place in the world for the first time. Independence is a beautiful, amazing thing, and you're not likely to want to give that up. It's completely natural and normal for you to have different feelings about whether or not you want to have children through your teenage years, your 20s and your 30s. And obviously when we get to our 30s or late 20s, you might have a lot of friends or siblings who are having kids, and you're seeing a side of family, seeing a side of babies and children that you've never seen before, not as an adult. And that can totally change the way that you perceive things. Getting to know a little baby from birth and watching that baby grow up and that you're in that little child's life, that has an indelible impact upon who you are and how you perceive yourself in regards to having families. If you have changed how you feel about having children and where you stand about having family, and your partner hasn't, well then there needs to be a very open, honest conversation about what that means for your relationship. If your partner really isn't on board or is very, very reluctant to consider it, it's very important for you to consider the impact or not fulfilling this desire in your life. Either way, there's going to be loss. Either way, there's going to be resentment. You could choose to try and stay in the relationship, but this area of life that may become more and more important to you doesn't get fulfilled. That can cause all levels of resentment and blame and dysfunction in your relationship anyway, and bring about the end of that relationship. So then you don't have the relationship and you don't have the child, you don't have the family. Like, that's a lose-lose situation. I would really encourage you to really look at what's important. If having a family is really important to you and your partner is not on board, then with great love, it is possible to separate and open to new love and open to creating that family. It is a big decision, but it is entirely possible to maintain very high levels of friendship with that person and love for that person, even if you're not together. Suppose you're with someone who has always indicated that they wanted to have children, and now that you're getting to the business end of starting a family, they don't want to have children anymore. This is a very confronting situation to find yourself in. It's really, really important, again, to be having open and honest conversations. I think it's very important to have an accurate understanding to see if your partner has, one, genuinely changed their mind, which is totally possible. Again, if you never know how you're going to feel about having family until you're really looking at that time in your life, it's entirely possible for someone to have wanted children and then see their friends go through it, see their family and siblings go through it, and decide that they don't want to do that. Lots of people experience that as well. It's actually quite common, because having kids is like really intense and life changes forever. It's entirely understandable that someone might choose to not want to have kids when they've been exposed to the impact of a young family, what it does to people's lives and to their relationships, to their bodies, to their sanity. It's not surprising that some people elect to not want to go down that path. However, if someone has never actually wanted to have kids, but they were always just allowing you to believe that they did, that is something completely different. If someone has always just allowed you to believe what you wanted to believe about the relationship, then I question what else in your relationship have they allowed you to believe? Where else in your relationship have they not been entirely honest? Where else in your relationship have they not been entirely transparent? Where else have they been keeping quiet in order to keep you happy? And that's really important to actually explore, because you could be living a lie with your relationship. The reality of your relationship could be vastly different to what you actually thought it was. And it's really important to get to the reality of your relationship. It'll make it easier for you to make your decision on whether or not you want to stay in that relationship, or if you want to actually take your fertility and your future of your family into your own hands and to part ways with that particular partner. None of this is easy, and if you would like to have some help with this, then you might want to consider downloading my Clarity Workbook. It's a Fertility Clarity Workbook. The link will be in the video description below. If you have any questions in relation to this, please let me know. Please ask in the comments below the video. Have you been in this situation before? What did you end up doing? How did you make your decision, and are you happy with the decision that you made? Ultimately, we need to remember that a lot of relationships aren't for life. Even if you're deeply in love with this person right now, the consequences of not being on the same page when it comes to your family can cause a great divide or a great rift in your relationship. Prioritize putting your values first. Start creating the life that you want to live according to your values. If you like this video, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and the little bell button to get notifications of when I put up my next video. and have a great day. Lots of love. Bye.